There is a man in Nago, on the north end of Okinawa, who gets up at 4:30 in the morning to cut vegetables for a noodle shop he has run for 51 years. He is 88. His son has offered twice to buy him a small apartment in Naha and let him stop. He has said no twice. The shop makes him, on a good month, the equivalent of about $900. 7,000 miles away, a man named Marcus gets up at 4:30 too, for a warehouse supervisor shift outside Dayton. He makes $62,000 a year. He has $31,000 sitting in a savings account, and if you ask him what the money is for, he will say the same thing most people say. Retirement, I guess. Emergencies. Just in case. Both men are disciplined. Both get up in the dark. One is wealthy and one is tired, and the difference has almost nothing to do with the account balances. Today I want to show you why. There is a Japanese word that got imported to the West about 10 years ago and immediately turned into a career coaching poster. Ikigai. Most people have seen the four-circle diagram. What you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and in the middle, the magic word. That diagram did not come from Okinawa. It came from a Spanish astrologer named Andres Zuzunaga, who drew it in 2012 to describe purpose, and a British blogger named Mark Wynne, who in 2014 swapped the word purpose for the word Ikigai and posted it. It has hung on more office walls than most company mission statements. The Japanese version is older and smaller and less flattering. In 1966, a psychiatrist named Mieko Kamiya published a book called Ikigai ni Tsuite, on the meaning of life. She had spent years with patients at a leprosy sanatorium, people who had lost their careers, their families, and their names. Her question was, what makes a person willing to wake up when there is very little left? Her answer had nothing to do with income, and everything to do with having something specific that waits for you. That is the version that makes people money. I am going to show you the mechanics of it, because purpose sounds like a soft topic until you look at what it does to a household budget. Before we go on, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We love seeing how far this story travels. And if you're loving it so far, join the family by hitting subscribe, because tomorrow we've got something special lined up just for you. Chapter 1. The Man with 6 Dead Budgets. Marcus had tried budgeting 6 separate times. He is not lazy. He downloaded the apps. He color-coded a spreadsheet in 2019 that was, honestly, beautiful work. He lasted 11 days. Here is the pattern, and you probably recognize it. He would cut everything for 3 weeks. No takeout, no bar, cancel the streaming, rice and chicken to work in a container. Then, some Thursday, he would have a bad shift and think, what am I even doing this for? And spend $80 on wings and beer with 2 guys from receiving, and the spreadsheet would sit untouched until he deleted it in shame 6 months later. He blamed his willpower. Everybody blames their willpower. Willpower was not the problem. Ask a man to give something up, and he will ask what he gets. That is not weakness. That is arithmetic. Marcus was being asked to hand over $80 a week to a number in an account with no name on it, for a version of himself who was 67 years old and who he had frankly never met. The wings were tonight. The number was 30 years away and hypothetical. Money discipline collapses on the day it stops being connected to a reason to wake up. Every time. Kamiya wrote about patients who tolerated almost unlimited suffering when something waited for them, and who fell apart quickly when nothing did. Your savings account is a mild version of the same experiment. You are asking yourself to suffer small amounts, forever, for something you cannot picture. The noodle shop man could tell you exactly why he cuts vegetables at 4:30. There are 11 regulars who come in before 6. 2 of them are widowers. If the shop does not open, they eat alone. That is his actual reason, and it is small and specific. and it is standing on the sidewalk at 10 minutes to 6, whether he feels inspired or not. That is what Ikigai is in practice, something specific enough to be waiting for you. So before you touch a spreadsheet, answer the question, why do you wake up? And the answer has to survive one test. It cannot end. If your reason is a number, a house, a title, a promotion, then the day you reach it, you will feel what Marcus's boss described after paying off his mortgage at 54, which was nothing at all, for about a year and a half. Marcus wrote his answer badly on the back of a delivery manifest. First attempt, financial freedom. That is not a reason, that is a brochure. Second attempt, not being broke. Better, though fear runs out the second you are safe. Third attempt took him 40 minutes. My mother is 69 and lives 2 states away, and I see her twice a year because of shift work. I want to see her once a month. I want to be the guy in my family who can fix things, actually fix them, with tools I own. I want my knees to work at 60. 3 sentences. No inspiration in them anywhere. They changed his entire financial position within 4 years, because now every dollar he spent had something to be measured against. Here is where it turns practical and slightly humiliating. For 30 days, Marcus wrote down every expense by hand. Not an app, a notebook, because the writing is the point. When you tap a card, nothing happens in your body. When you have to write coffee, $6.50, in your own handwriting, in a book you will read again, something happens. Japanese household budgeting has run on this principle since 1904, when the journalist Hani Motoko invented the Kakebo ledger for exactly this reason. Pen first, then honesty. Marcus added one column that the traditional ledger does not have. Next to each expense, he wrote which of his 3 sentences it served. Mother, tools, knees. The results were unkind. Over 30 days, he spent $410 on food he ate alone in his truck, $99 on subscriptions, of which he used 2, and $260 on beer and wings with people whose last names he sometimes could not remember. He spent $19 total on anything connected to the 3 things he had written down. $19. That was a phone charger for the drive to his mother's. He said a word out loud in his kitchen that I cannot repeat here. If you say your family matters and your ledger shows $100 a month on golf and nothing on your family, the ledger wins the argument. It is not judging you. It just writes down what you actually chose. Most people never look, and then they wonder why their life does not match their values. Their life matches their spending perfectly. That is the trouble. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Okinawans have a table phrase, hara hachibu. Eat until you are 80% full. It comes from Confucian teaching, and it is why the traditional Okinawan diet ran a caloric deficit for most of the 20th century, without anybody calling it a diet. You stop before the signal arrives, because the signal arrives late. Money works the same way. Your sense of what you can afford shows up late, usually around the 26th of the month. So Marcus set his life at 80% of what he brought home. $62,000 a year came out to roughly $3,900 a month after tax. He built his life to fit $3,100 and moved the other $800 out on payday, before he could see it. Money you have not moved is money you have already spent. You just have not found out where yet. Then he split the $800, and this is what separates the method from ordinary saving. $500 went to the boring future. $300 went into what he labeled, in handwriting, the Ikigai fund. Mother, tools, knees. That $300 was not for emergencies, it was for spending. On purpose, in both senses. Some spending leaves and never returns. Some comes back carrying something. Marcus bought a used table saw for $220. Over 2 years he built shelving for 4 people who paid him $900 in total, and rebuilt his own porch steps for the price of lumber, instead of the 1,800 a contractor quoted. The saw came back. It also came back in a way no ledger records, which is that he now spends Saturdays in the garage instead of scrolling on the couch getting slowly angrier at people he has never met. He bought a gym membership for $31 a month, which he had canceled twice before in his life. This time it survived, because it was attached to the sentence about his knees at 60, which is a more durable sentence than looking good at a wedding. He drove to his mother's every fourth weekend. Gas, roughly $70 round trip. That one pays back nothing measurable, and it is the only line in the ledger he would defend at gunpoint. The Okinawan elders are useful here for a reason nobody mentions in the wellness articles. There is no Japanese word that maps cleanly onto retirement in the English sense of stopping. Across the island, you will find people in their 80s and 90s selling vegetables, teaching sanshin, running tiny businesses that would look pathetic on a spreadsheet. $900 a month, continued from 65 to 88, comes to roughly $248,000 of income that a Western retirement plan does not have, and they earned it doing something they would have done anyway. That is what purpose paying you back looks like in the accounts. Unglamorous. It compounds anyway. The Blue Zones books, popularized by Dan Buettner, made the Okinawan moai famous as a friendship circle. 5 people who commit to each other for life. Very warm, very shareable. The original moai was a savings club. Villagers with no access to banks pooled money monthly. Each month one member took the whole pot, for a roof, a boat, a funeral. Then the rotation continued. It was mutual credit built out of social pressure and nothing else, and it worked, because leaving was worse than paying. The friendship came bundled with the finance. That is what made both of them last. Marcus rebuilt a crude version with 3 men from work, $200 each, first Friday of the month, and the pot of $800 goes to 1 man on a rotation. In 14 months, it bought a transmission, dental crowns, a stroller, and a used trailer. No interest, no credit check. More usefully, it made saving something other people watched. Marcus had failed 6 budgets alone, and never once failed to show up on a first Friday, because the gap between disappointing a spreadsheet and disappointing Rick from receiving is enormous. About 8 months in, people started commenting. Nobody warns you about that stage. The guys called him cheap. He was not cheap. He had stopped buying rounds for people who would not have visited him in a hospital. A woman he dated briefly told him the notebook was a little intense. Some of that is ordinary friction. Some of it is that a person who has taken control of their money is a walking accusation against everybody who has not. The pressure comes from inside, too. Marcus got a raise in year 2, $4,000, and his first instinct was to look at trucks. He caught himself, which he was proud of, then looked at trucks for another 6 weeks anyway, which he was less proud of. The raise went into the split, scaled up. The urge does not disappear. It returns every time your income moves. You just get faster at recognizing the voice. One rule helped. Anything wanted that is not survival goes in the back of the notebook with the date. Wait a month. Look again. Most of it is gone, because most wanting is weather. It passes. The truck is still on that list, undated, and he now finds it funny. Year 1, Marcus saved $9,600 to the boring account and spent $3,600 on his 3 sentences. Year 4, income was up to $71,000. Life still ran at about $3,200 a month, and the annual figure was roughly $18,000 saved. Total in the boring account at the end of year 4, including the $31,000 he started with and some growth, just under $94,000. That is not a fortune. He is not on a yacht. He drives the same truck. What he has is the part the number does not show. He saw his mother 39 times in 4 years instead of 8. He can build a set of stairs, His resting heart rate went from 81 to 64. He does small woodworking jobs on weekends that bring in $300 or $400 a month, and if the money stopped tomorrow, he would keep doing them. That is the whole test. The wealth arrived as a side effect of aiming at something else. That is what the four-circle diagram cannot capture, because it puts what you can be paid for in one of the circles, as though money were an ingredient. In practice, it is a residue. It collects around people who have a reason to get up, and something concrete waiting for them. I keep coming back to a distinction of kamiyas. There is Ikigai, the thing itself, and Ikigai-kan, the feeling of having one. People chase the feeling. You cannot chase a feeling. You can only build the thing and let the feeling show up on its own schedule, usually while you are busy with something else. The 11 regulars are the thing. The vegetables at 4:30 are the thing. The feeling is what he has instead of a pension. So here is the method, stripped down. 4 questions and a notebook. Why do I wake up? Write it in 3 specific sentences that could not appear on a poster. What does my ledger say I actually value? Write every expense by hand for 30 days and put your 3 sentences in the margin. What is my 80%? Build your life to fit it and move the rest on payday. Split between the boring future and the Ikigai fund. What comes back? Feed the spending that returns something. Starve the rest. And find your 3 or 4 people. Pool something. Show up on the first Friday. Here is your 7-day test, small enough that you have no excuse. For 7 days, write down every expense by hand, and next to each one, the reason it served. If you cannot name a reason, leave it blank. At the end of the week, count the blanks and add them up. That is the number. Then tell me in the comments what your blank total was, and tell me the thing you would still do if nobody paid you for it. Be honest. That second one is usually where the money is hiding. You can spend 40 years accumulating and arrive at the end holding a balance and an empty afternoon. Or you can spend 40 years building reasons to get up and find the balance came along anyway, quietly, in the background, the way it did for a man cutting vegetables in the dark for 11 people who would otherwise eat alone. That's our story. If you enjoyed it, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. And tomorrow, more stories are waiting for you. Thanks for watching.